think it's time for the American church to reevaluate our view of the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I personally have read through all 7 of the Harry Potter books twice, and seeing the entire series as a whole from beginning to end, I think I can definitively say that Harry Potter is not about magic. It's not about witches and wizards. It is not about religion and spiritual forces and dark places. Harry Potter is not an attack on Christianity. Harry Potter is actually an attack on the biggest persecutor of the church over the last 150 years. Harry Potter is a warning against totalitarianism, fascism, and Marxism to a free and liberal society. And when I say a liberal society, I am referring to one where people have the liberty to decide how they want to govern and live their own lives. I don't know if it was the goal of J.K. Rowling in writing these books when she set out, if she wanted to confront totalitarianism with the Harry Potter series. I doubt that it was her initial goal, but that is what her series transforms into before the end. The villain of Harry Potter is the infamous Lord Voldemort. And while Voldemort with his snake-like face never really leaves the mind of the reader, you always know of his dark history as the murderer of Harry Potter's parents. It is his minions in this series, the Death Eaters and the Statists, such as Dolores Umbridge and Pius Thickness, who really show us how totalitarianism operates. Pius, whose first act under the watchful eye of Voldemort as the new Minister of Magic, which is basically the Prime Minister of the magical world, but his first act as Minister of Magic was to restore the ministry to be a temple of tolerance, and to ensure that all of the Ministry of Magic, every one of their employees, would possess the right views of society and the world. And by remaining in the background, Voldemort was able to use these civil servants. He was able to use the newspaper with the Daily Prophet, people who claimed to be working for tolerance and the good of their fellow man, to establish a totalitarian state. A state where their security measures were used to actually spy on citizens and attack them and entrap them. And those who wanted to oppose this new form of government, they would be named as the undesirables. J.K. Rowling created an allegory of a totalitarian state, and she rather masterfully pictures how one can gain influence in a free society, and the dangers to those who will be labeled the undesirable by a Marxist state. And so I think it's time to encourage our Christian youth, our teens, our young adults, to read the Harry Potter series. To read this series as an introduction to Marxism, to see the dangers that it possesses to all those who refuse to bow the knee to the state and to atheism. Dolores Umbridge, I think probably the most vile character in the whole series, shows us how she's claiming to work for everyone's own good. She wants what's best for these children. But she shows how the state uses schools even before government in order to bring about their means and push power down upon those who are below them. You see, these books are not just mere fiction, but they are a call for us to see what totalitarian states will do to their subjects, and also to call us to be willing to sacrifice in our own lives, to be able to go on the run in tents and live in the woods, as opposed to submitting to an all-powerful and evil state. And if you think I'm off base on my view of Harry Potter, I also want to remind you about what's going on with author J.K. Rowling at the moment. J.K. Rowling was once beloved by the left and liberals around the world. I mean, she had one of the great stories. She's a woman, she's a single mom, she was living in poverty and having a lot of mental struggles and difficulties before Harry Potter was put out, and she went from rags to riches, from poverty to success. And now she is being canceled, vilified, and hated by progressives. There are countless tweets, articles, and statements calling for the boycott of all things Harry Potter. Progressives are saying that her canceling, which is going on now, will not end anytime soon. Her banning is rooted in her insistence that women are women and men are men. But those men who dress as women and call themselves women, they're still men. What she wants to do is celebrate the female gender, and for that she is hated. And I don't find it at all a coincidence that in the time when Marxism is gaining traction in America, when groups like Antifa are using outright violent Marxist tactics in the Pacific Northwest, when socialists are gaining ground in the American political system, that in this time there is a call to boycott and ban all things Harry Potter and the author of those books. And it's not Christians who are calling to ban Harry Potter right now, but it is the progressives. It is those who would love nothing more than to see a Marxist-style government take hold in America. These books, the Harry Potter series, points out the dangers of communism, fascism, and all the other despicable political children of Karl Marx. They are not our friends. They are not the solution, and they should be seen as a deadly enemy. So right now I'm reading book 1 of Harry Potter out loud to my children before they go to bed, a couple of pages each night. And I'm going to use this series as an introduction to my children to the dangers of an all-controlling state, before then introducing them to other works such as Live Not by Lies and Animal Farm. Church, I think it's time to re-examine these books and to see them for what they are. Harry Potter is not a book promoting magic. Harry Potter is not a book that is attacking our faith and our belief in God. Instead, Harry Potter is a warning of, and it is an attack upon, the greatest persecutor of the church over the last 150 years. And that is the totalitarian government of Karl Marx. And we need to oppose that political system. If there's any system that we as Christians should speak out against, it should be the totalitarian state. So don't join with the progressives. Don't join with those who would support the takeover of all parts of our society by the state in banning Harry Potter. Instead, use this series as a warning for our Christian youth. Well, if you've enjoyed this sort of interesting review and take on Harry Potter, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the Rev Reads YouTube channel in order to stay engaged in the wonderful and challenging world of Christian literature.